here. Because don't forget, under Operation Paperclip, we grabbed up as many high-end and high-tech scientists as we could get our hands on before the Russians. That's how Werner von Braun came over here, who was a member of the SS. He was an SS major in charge of their rocketry program, and now he wound up being the top guy for NASA that was supposed to have put us on the moon.
That's right. Supposed to, right?
Yeah, you know where I stand on that one.
I think I'm right there with you.
My thing is I cannot get past, no pun intended, the Van Allen belt.
Bingo.
I don't want to hear about shadows and flapping flags, this, that, or the other thing. I want clear-cut, concise answers about how they survived the Van Allen belts, because you got to do it twice each trip, once on the way out and once on the way back.
For those who don't know what we're talking about with that, folks, there is a strong radiation belt around the entire planet called the Van Allen belt. Discovered many years ago. The radiation level so high it would fry a human being if you went through it. And Michael, we're talking Michael Slack, UFO and New World Order investigator. And I went as a kid down the Cape Cod, Cape May. What am I saying? Down to Florida, where they have all the rockets and all that. Cape Canaveral, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, Canaveral, yeah.
And I saw the actual capsules that they supposedly came back from the moon trip in. And they're little thin tin cans. And I remember looking as a kid, a little grade school kid, thinking, they went to the moon and came back in that. And when you compare it to the technology we have today and we used in space shuttles, it looked like a tin can you bought your soup in. And to think that went through the strong Van Allen radiation belts and it protected human beings from being fried by the radiation, it's just too much to swallow.
I think so.
And
that's my big stumbling block.
Then I saw an interview with one of the astronauts. I don't know if it was Armstrong or one of the other guys who supposedly went to the moon. And they were asked about the Van Allen belts, and he didn't even know what they were. He said, "What's that?" And
really?
He said, "Well, I don't think we went through that." And the guy interviewing said, "Well, you would have had to, And he said, "Well, then I guess we did. So there you go. If the guys who supposedly went there didn't even know about it, didn't even know they went through them, raises a lot of questions, doesn't it? And it goes back to this whole thing of the government liking to snow the public.
Yeah, it raises a boatload of questions for me. It certainly does. I think that we faked going to the moon to win the Cold War. And I think the reason why the Russians dropped out is they realized that it couldn't be done. The Van Allen radiation belt.
Right.
And even then, think about, let's just say that they are traipsing around on the surface of the moon, right? Where's your protection? Because you're constantly being bombarded by cosmic radiation.
Right, which is just as bad, yeah.
Yeah, where's the protection? It's like you said about looking at the vehicles. As a kid, 1/8 of an inch thick aircraft-grade aluminum. Mm-hmm. That was it. There was no shielding on the lunar module or the command module or even the service module. No shielding, no protection in the suits, nothing. But we are expected to believe that we went through the Van Allen radiation belts, and then beyond that, you're constantly being bombarded by cosmic radiation, going to the moon, on the surface of the moon, and then reverse that process coming back to God's green earth.
Really, they didn't intend to get on this, but Michael, too, coming in from space through the atmosphere in those little tin cans with the space shuttle, and it didn't go that far out, was still within our atmosphere. They had to have all kind of special tiles on that didn't always hold up. And this is far more advanced than what they supposedly went to the moon.
Yeah, and you'll also hear pro-NASA supporters are very proud of the fact that we went to the moon on computer technology that was equivalent to the first digital calculators that came out in the mid-'70s. Texas Instruments.
Yeah.
You're like, really? All those calculations that you needed to make, because you cannot be off, not by the slightest little nth. You cannot be off, or it's over. It's game over.
Right.
And they did that on less technology than the first generation Texas Instruments little digital handheld calculators. You remember them?
Yeah, I do.
That's another pill I'm having trouble swallowing.
Yeah. But, you know, and to the fact that nobody's ever been back there before, even attempted to go to the moon again. It's just...
Yeah. Yeah, and all of a sudden NASA cancels the program, and we've been in low Earth orbit ever since. Actually, we never went beyond low Earth orbit, but once they took a shuttle up to the very bottom fringe edge where the Van Allen belt starts, and the astronauts that came back themselves said that they could close their eyes and see these particles streaming through. They look like meteors streaming through their heads.
Wow. They were just at the edge.
Yeah, and they reported that back to Mission Control, and they're like, okay, you're done, get back to low Earth orbit, get out of there kind of thing. Once again, it's like, really? And we did this, 4 or 5 times with the Apollo program?
Yeah.
With no shielding? I'm sorry. Sell it somewhere else because I'm not buying it.
And you have to have a healthy skepticism